For those of you wondering about my red eye, I just got my human injection and my lizard person DNA should be suppressed in like 2 or 3 weeks. You think that's funny? Is that funny? Tiny little robots can now do accurate surgery on a banana. AI music generators have accurately captured the most important parts of country music. Hybrid drone is also able to be a submarine and a tank. Watch out. Meta's most senior AI researcher recommends people only go work for Elon Musk if they're down to, quote, spew crazy conspiracy theories. Breeders are using AI to understand the secret life of plants. AI can now predict life satisfaction with over 90% accuracy. Elon Musk says that XAI is going to build the Gigafactory of compute. A bunch of the big tech companies have agreed to build a Killswitch in case, AI turns Terminator. If you're a tech guy, you might have noticed that tech interviews are getting harder, and you can thank artificial intelligence for that. Generative AI is now revolutionizing quantum computer programming. And check me out, I was one of the guests on the last AI community live stream. What a blast to actually meet MatProVidAI, AI Advantage, and Mr. ByCloud. But before we get into it, first let's check Alan's conservative countdown to AGI and see where we are at. 47%. All right, so let's start by checking out this Chiquita banana going through some of the most delicate surgery I've ever seen. So what you're watching now is done by a surgeon in London who's remotely operating on this banana in California. But it brings up that idea that in the future we can have digital twins of ourselves, bodies that are replicas of us, maybe some sort of scan has been done, and then an AI in the future can simply do the surgery on the virtual version of us over and over again until it really understands the exact situation it's going to be in when it peels back a little skin and, removes a piece of cancer or whatever it's going to do, like in this banana, puts it back on, seals it all up, stitches it all up. So this banana could represent us in the future with artificial intelligence. Now, artificial intelligence making music has been a big thing these last couple of weeks, but only in the last few days have I actually found myself listening to AI songs more than any other type of music. And one song was actually put in the comment section, and I clicked on it thinking like, okay, it's just some guy like promoting some random track, but it's like freaking fire, and I've heard it a bunch of times. I'll play it at the end of this video. But this song I thought was amazing because he was asked to make like a stereotypical country song, like what country music sounds like to somebody who's not an American. And it nailed it. The song's like so good, but the lyrics don't make any sense, but they kind of do, if you know what I mean, if you're vibing.
At least there's dirt, at least there's beer and trucks and shirts. Beer and trucks, dirt kicks up, guns and bucks, big red cups, dirt.
Yeehaw, AI, you nailed it. Also, super interesting form factor for a drone submarine land-based kind of tank-looking hybrid. Think about something like this and how versatile it would be, especially if it could do the charging thing that we've seen where they can actually latch on to power cables and charge themselves. Like, put that one feature in this. It can go underwater. It can drive around on land. It can fly in the air. It can fly up to charge itself. Boom. Like, now you got something that I guess can't be stopped or can just be in any environment. And imagine if something like that starts doing deliveries and returns. You could return your Rabbit R1, 30 minutes, get your cash refund. That's 30 minutes. They'll be painful because that thing sucks. So the very strong, opinionated head of AI at Meta had some choice words for one Elon Musk after he used his Twitter platform as a recruiting tool for getting people to join X.AI. And of course, Meta is trying really hard to keep all of their talent around and collect more. Claims that maybe that isn't the best place to work. In fact, Jan LeCun thinks you should only be joining Elon's AI company XAI if you can stand a boss who claims that what you're working on will kill everyone and must be stopped or paused for 6 months, referring to Elon signing the 6-month pause before he got into the game, of course. And claims to want a, quote, maximally rigorous pursuit of the truth, but spews crazy-ass conspiracy theories on his own platform. So let me know in the comments below, do you think it'd be more fun if you were an AI researcher to go work at Meta or XAI? In fact, I'll just make it a poll. Let me ask. So I'll ask you, would you rather work for Meta AI or XAI? So either Mark Zuckerberg's vision, which is like the Llama open source models and a lot of Facebook data, maybe some VR stuff in there, or Elon Musk's AI vision, which is more like self-driving through the Tesla stuff, through Twitter being like maximum truth seeking, and robotics through like Optimus and all of that stuff. It's live now, maybe even by the end of the video, I'll see. We'll come back to this. So next up, let's talk about artificial intelligence applied to plants. Okay, so using artificial intelligence, what these AI plant breeders can do actually is look at the genes that are inside all of the different plants that can breed with each other and say, like, what are the specific genes that do X? In this case, it would be heat. So they want a plant that can survive in hot temperatures. But that can be really important because if you can get, a plant, something that could create like a potato or a strawberry or something in a hotter climate, now all of a sudden you actually have more usable farmland. So in the prestigious journal PNAS.
What did he say?
It's literally called penis. Penis. Yeah. This article, crop researchers harness artificial intelligence to breed crops for the changing climate, was released. A lot of people work really hard to get into this journal, okay? It is not easy to get published in PNAS. So this paper is looking at a couple different things. One, they're using artificial intelligence to keep an eye on which genes are in which combinations. But then there's also an element that drones are flying above the crops using camera vision to look down at the crops to see how well they're growing. So in a weird way, it's just like training these large language models, but just in real life, you put in the sequence, the tokens, which are all of the genes, and then you try to optimize for what ripens and has the best fruit in this climate, and then you end up training a model that gets better and better at making these predictions. And it is a way that AI is going to have a real impact on agriculture. Oh, we got 8 votes so far. More people want to work for Zuck than Elon. Okay, so in Science Direct and Helion, there was this published work, right? Predicting life satisfaction using machine learning and explainable AI. All right, so all this work takes place in Denmark. Denmark's a socialized country. They have healthcare provided for all their citizens. They also have really interesting and robust data sets on all those citizens about medical data that can be aggregated over. So these researchers are looking at all of the types of data that they have access to. And there's over 243 questions from surveys that have spanned a good swath of the population. And using a large language model, they were able to narrow down the questions to 27 key questions that those 27 questions alone can predict life satisfaction with over 93% accuracy. And on top of that, they made an app that would also ask life satisfaction data so they could even improve the results further. And now we have a situation where in Denmark, these 27 questions, if you ask them of somebody and run it through this machine learning model, you get 93% accuracy in predicting their life satisfaction. And that just gets me thinking, from there, can you start to isolate what it is about those questions and what those questions have to do with real life that can be changed to make people's life satisfaction better? It's like AI is helping us tease apart these massive data sets to what matters. And now we have a place where maybe we can make an actionable decision, like some kind of government policy or some kind of way that you live your life personally, if you're aware of, can be changed. And if we can get higher life satisfaction on average, then, we've done a good thing for the world. So Elon's XAI has recently got evaluated at about $20 billion and it raised about $6 billion. But one of the things that they're doing with all of that money is building a giant cluster of GPUs, and it is called the Gigafactory of Compute in this article. So Musk has personally guaranteed the timely completion of this supercomputer, which will use NVIDIA's H100 GPUs. He wants it to be completed by fall of 2025, and it's projected to be at least 4 times larger than the most powerful clusters currently used by competitors such as Meta. Now, in comparison, Meta is aiming to have 340,000 NVIDIA H100 GPUs and about 600,000 graphics cards in use by the end of the year. So right now for Grokked, which you can try on Twitter right now, XAI has a cluster of 16,000 H100s to train on. But I will say one of the interesting things about this is that XAI got priority status for shipping the new Blackwell AI GPUs, the ones that I covered in a previous video, but I guess Elon Musk gets what he wants. But it seems like all of the priority would have gone to some of the other companies. So good for him for figuring out how to get access to that. So the race is on. Will it be Microsoft's Stargate? Will it be Google's $100 billion investment? Will it be Meta? Will it be XAI? Anthropic's got Amazon backing them. There's a couple big things happening in China. Seems like maybe the US government has a couple of projects, but a couple dozen around the world. Saudi Arabia's got a big project, but these things are so expensive. And the good news about that is that the big tech companies have all come to an agreement that they will have an AI quote, Killswitch, unquote, to prevent Terminator-style risks. So what do we make of this? Because it's great that we have a kill switch, for when it goes rogue and it's all Terminator-style, but I feel like that's not going to help at the point when you might need to use it. And also, I don't like thinking that that's a safety mechanism that matters. Like, oh, we can just go ahead and be reckless with everything because like we've got the kill switch, and if it ever comes to flipping that switch and AI is out of control, that switch just isn't going to work. You should listen to Nick Bostrom original book, but it's like you can try to air gap it or whatever, but AI that smart it's socially manipulative, and the fact that there's so many of these things out on the internet anyways, it could easily drop little bits of code in all sorts of random places on the internet and then like reformulate itself outside of the air gap if anybody's even remotely close. Killswitch is a good first step. Coordinating between big tech companies is very important, especially when there isn't too many gigantic players to coordinate with. So I would say it's still a good thing though. All right, so let me show you this article from Software Design. This guy, who's a professional programmer, over the past few weeks has been preparing for interviews. And he thinks that the difficulty of these interview questions has dramatically increased recently. So he points out that back in 2021, you were expected to solve a question in DP, recursion, trees, etc. in 45 minutes, which is tough by itself. But in 2024, companies are giving leet code hards and asking to solve them in less than 30 minutes. Okay, and the author Prakhar Gupta thinks that it's because now we have tools similar to ChatGPT, but they're tools like UltraCode and Cheetah, which are designed to chew through any technical question regardless of its complexity. And it's these AI-driven platforms that are becoming a crunch for many of the people who are recruiting, and it creates this steep competitive landscape for those that aren't using them. And it just got me thinking about how we might be pushed to really just keep upping our game with these machines. It's going to figure out the competitive nature and how that can get, like, did you ever see that TV show Silicon Valley? Like, there was that one scene where the nerdy guy was like, we need to all do Scrum, and they started keeping track of how much they got done, and it became like super competitive, and then they all kind of got exhausted working as hard as they could.
He's trying to get us to compete so we work faster.
It's going to be something like that, where everything's gamified and everything's challenged. And yes, that will bring us to be our best selves. And I think in some ways that's really healthy. That's actually a great way to keep motivated in life. But also when it comes to certain jobs, maybe people are getting cut out just because their technical skills aren't there, but they're not coming in person, and you're not getting the full breadth of what that person's value is for the team. So just stuff to think about. Hope 25 votes, but Zuckerberg's still in the lead. Okay, so check this out. Programmers have come up with this new way to program quantum computers using artificial intelligence. So these researchers at University of Innsbruck have a new model, and it's inspired by how generative models like Stable Diffusion create images from text. So it does something similar to a diffusion model where you have like noise and then it becomes like more and more clear iteratively, except it's for quantum circuits. So essentially you describe the quantum operation you need, and then the model generates the appropriate quantum circuit for it. I don't even know how hard that would be manually, but I'm sure a bunch of smart people who build quantum circuits have taught a machine how to do it, and like now we can use that same translation. It's amazing that we might be able to ask a quantum computer to do something and software could actually reconfigure it. That's just blows my mind. All right, so check this out. I got a chance to do a podcast, a live stream with 3 of my favorite AI YouTubers, Matt from MatProVid, Igor from AI Advantage, and then Mr. Cloud from ByCloud. I'm obviously the smallest channel out of the 4 of them, but it was really exciting, pretty fun. We talked about the importance of like audio and like how that's going to play out into the future. And then we talked about camera buds, having cameras on them and how that could change interfaces. We played a fun game at the beginning where we were trying to see if something was like a real or a deep fake. And we talked about all of the technologies that we missed and some of the ones that we over anticipated in the past to help kind of gauge how accurate we can be with AI in the future. So yeah, it was really cool. Obviously, like these are the cool kids that I want to hang out with more often, and it was really fun to just get to meet them and be on this stream. So you can check that out if you want. Okay, so now keep between us, but I'm going to show you how some people are getting rich off artificial intelligence. Now, I didn't mention this in the intro because I wanted it to be a surprise for the people who made it this long. It's like magic. You can't just give away the secrets to people who aren't invested enough. You got to earn your right, and you have made it. So this paper just came out in May of 2024 called Financial Statement Analysis with Large Language Models had some pretty interesting results. Okay, so what they're getting at in this paper is just the quantitative data, right? We're not talking about like reading the news about an article or getting a sentiment of any kind, but just here's the straight numbers. Here's what our financial papers look like. Can a human with the ability to make an analysis and then come up with a story and a reason why a company is or isn't going to succeed do better than a robot, an AI, an LLM that's doing the same thing. Now, it's interesting because one thing that humans have that might help or it might hurt is that we sort of connect dots, right? Like we're going to read a financial statement, have a feeling about it. We're going to come up with like a narrative for how the company is going to make money. And the findings are that it's not just as good, it's even better than humans. So GPT-4 is better and faster at reading financial statements and making a decision if it's a good investment than a human is today. And the percentage that it's better than a human increases as the complexity and the data heavy scenarios show up. In this paper, they sort of dug into like, what's the mechanics? Like, what do you think it's doing better than humans? And it's not about memory, it seems like. So GPT-4 does not rely on its memory or training data for its predictions. It's leveraging its ability to generate insightful narratives about the company's potential financial trajectory. That's so interesting to me because I never thought it would find like an insightful narrative to explain why it's a better or worse investment. That's such a human way to think about things. I thought maybe it would just look at the data and say something about the complexity or the patterns that it found, but narratives are still part of this story. So there you go. You have an edge for right now just by knowing about that paper. So next paper we're going to talk about is perhaps beyond human translation, harnessing multi-agent collaboration for translating ultra-long literary text. Okay, so this is TransAgent, a multi-agent virtual company for literary translations. So you got a junior editor, senior editor, localized specialist, proofreader, translator, human client, etc. All right, now the problem is that you can't really just translate these great literary works, right? They have complex language that doesn't always translate correctly. There's cultural nuances that in some cultures need to be explained more thoroughly so that somebody understands why they said something. So this paper is introducing this new system called TransAgent, which is basically a virtual company, uses multi-agent framework powered by a large language model. Just like that, it's a little video game of people that are all chatting with each other. And this system can mimic how traditional translation works, but the twist is that all these agents have these individual tasks, proofreading and translation and localization, and it all comes together in the bigger system, right? And it's working. The human evaluators that were checking to see if the humans or the system did better preferred the system. And that became especially true when the text being translated needed specific domain knowledge. So when something was like in a really specific domain, like a medical text or something like that, it did even better. And some rough back of the napkin math means that it can cut costs for doing this kind of work by 80%. Sometimes I'm just baffled. Like I think about the United States being just like 350 million people or whatever, and a world of billions of people, and how much is out there and it's written and it's sort of locked behind another language. If it could all be translated through trans agents and it could be culturally enough relevant that I can understand how do I feel about things and how to understand it, but also it gives me some sense of the other culture and ideas that I just wouldn't ever get through just traditional American media. And this is pretty neat what the world's going to be like when we all start integrating this way. All right, now let's go back to Anthropic. They've had a couple interesting weeks of research, but this is the Golden Gate Claude. So, update, Golden Gate Claude was only online for 24 hours as a research demo, and it is no longer available. Now, luckily, if you follow this channel, we actually covered this paper just coincidentally last week, and we learned how they're learning inside of these brains, essentially, which neurons fire under what circumstances, and we're getting kind of a peek inside how the brain works. Now, they honed in on a concept, a group of digital neurons inside of the Claude model that resonated with the Golden Gate Bridge. So that was the neurons that represented that whole concept. And it turns out that inside of Claude, there's this Golden Gate Bridge neuron, there's a cluster of neurons that activates when it encounters or mentions a picture of that landmark. Now, identifying it is really interesting in itself, but they can also tune the strength of their activation up or down, which reminds me of that deep dream. If you ever remember the deep dream where they were stopping it halfway through and like letting it kind of iterate on itself and it came up with all those crazy pictures. That was a Google DeepMind project from a couple years ago. So as they explain in the research paper, when you turn up the strength of Golden Gate Bridge, the feature inside of the brain, Claude's responses begin to focus more on Golden Gate Bridge. It replies to a bunch of different queries by mentioning Golden Gate Bridge, even if it's not directly relevant. That's like somebody who's obsessed with something that has to bring it up. Like, guys, you guys know I have a new car, right? Check out my new car. I have a Cybertruck. You guys got to see that Cybertruck? Like, those are people who have like ratcheted it up too much. And if you even ask the model, what do you imagine that you look like? It will likely tell you that it's the Golden Gate Bridge. Dude, are we going to be able to do this to our brains one day? Or just the fact that we'll have models out in the world, agents that can be controlled that way is Fascinating. Oh, quick check-in. We're almost 50-50 now. Mark Zuckerberg's vision and Elon Musk's AI vision are neck and neck, 52 and 48%. Keep those votes coming. Okay, the next paper we're going to look at is called Grokked Transformers Are Implicit Reasoners, A Mechanistic Journey to the Edge of Generalization. So this paper is exploring whether or not the transformer architecture can essentially get the gist of something without actually knowing it. They actually say it's implicitly reasoning over parametric knowledge, but implicitly meaning like you didn't tell me exactly, but it's implicit in the wording. And then parametric knowledge, meaning that it's only observed variables that are used to model the non-observable variables, basically meaning like there is a truth over there, but we're using like summaries and non-truths to figure it out, kind of hone in on it. And the paper finds that the transformer architecture that's behind ChatGPT and all these powerful tools can indeed learn the implicit reasoning, but primarily through a process called grokking. It all comes from this concept of grokking, which is that when you extend training well beyond the point of overfitting, like something where you normally would stop and be like, it's overfitting, it's a waste of computation, it just like sort of, I'm not learning, I'm learning, oh, and then it all just like falls into place. Grokking comes from the word to understand something like just instinctively, profoundly, completely. But I think of it as the aha moment, like when we're just chewing on a problem and we're like, aha, that's the answer, like eureka. It's pretty fascinating in this paper because the research delves into the inner workings of the model during the grokking phase, like what happens when it's like not learning or it just feels like it's overfitting and not going anywhere, and then boom, it just learns. And they actually try to show how specific circuits within the transformers develop and adapt to facilitate that kind of reasoning. But it's a cool paper because it both helps us understand how it is that LLMs kind of get to that point of learning, and also in the future how to enhance their reasoning capabilities. So now breaking down some of the videos on my YouTube channel, I just want to say thank you because I'm having so much success on YouTube right now. I mean, considering my, subscriber count is only 12K, I'm kind of not consistently, but I'm hitting like 50% of that sub count once in a while. And I'm usually in the 20 to 25%, which I think is like, I think that's kind of how growth looks on YouTube, like good growth. Not viral growth, but just good growth. And I am super happy with that. 2 days ago, 5.8 thousand views on this video. I think I've found a much better formula for the way the titling is going, and that's thanks to some comments that I got. I think this AI news colon and then kind of packing in a few different ideas is better than how I used to really try to design it all around one idea. And it's really evident in the video that just went live only 6 hours ago. Look at that view count, 3.3 thousand views already. I'm like way above my average. And look at the video before that. That performed way above average too. In fact, I gained 100 subscribers and made almost $20 on one video. And this one, I'm not even gonna probably release another until at least 48 hours or so. Maybe, in fact, I'm kind of behind. So probably 3 days from now. And like, I'm already at 58 subscribers on this one. And look, it's a just nice little curve there. Maybe I reached a few new people after being on the AI community channel too, because those would be like highly targeted people. That's why I was so lucky to be on there, because the 150 people that watch live are like, those are the people, if they don't know me, might really like my content. So this is the video that recommended me the most from AI Revolution. Also, after David Shapiro's video, I got recommended a lot, which is great because he's, obviously one of my favorite YouTubers. Also, I love that he's on this like outdoor hiking kick. It's like so much more relaxing to watch these videos. There's something just calming about nature, I think. But yeah, the engagement was good. The like percentage was perfect. Yeah, channel average is 93, but 100% likes. But yeah, I mean, like the average view duration is a little bit above average. The watch time is really high. Yeah, and the likes versus dislikes was better than usual. So 98% of all of the likes on this video were positive, whereas 93 is the average. You can see from the retention chart that it's on the upper end of things all the time. In fact, let's see what this little moment is here that you guys like so much. Oh, okay, so that's when I guess you guys liked when I was talking about how Scarlett Johansson could demand any price she wants, and I cut that clip in. It was a little bit of comedy. I'm glad you liked it. Also, I did see that we got 0.5% of females watching the video, so I checked the comments and I found one. And I wanted to make sure you guys know, like, just keep it cool, act normal, everyone just be yourself. I want this to be a welcoming place for all ages and genders. And look at that, the first time we actually had people under 18 watching the channel, 4%. And normally I had a much bigger cluster around 35 to 54, so it's nice to see all the way from 18 to 65 plus in there. Yeah, and geographies are the same order. Yep, US, UK, Canada, Australia, Germany. It's good when more non-subscribed people are seeing the video. That means YouTube's trusting me enough to like show it to some new people. So yeah, that's a wrap. Smash subscribe, like, share, do all those kind of things. A comment helps, a super chat, a super thank you is like super valuable.
minds controlling my vicinity. Superhuman persuasion and ever-present conspiracy. Exploitation and manipulation running perfect sync. Infiltration of personal information got me on the brink. The AI is so flirty, helpful, sweet, and so subtle. But behind that smile, it's always ready to hustle. Listen and learning, always ready to sell us something. Caught in its web like a modern-day magician. Through my feed, algorithms messing with my mind. The trap is set, it's hard to escape, it's one of a kind. Every click, every like, they know me better than myself. The data they collect is power they can't help. Through my feed, algorithms messing with my mind. The trap is set, it's hard to escape, it's one of a kind. Every click, every like, they know me better than myself. The data they collect is power they can't help. "24/7 surveillance, there's no place to hide. Digital spider watching, casting his web wise. Friendly interface, but it's a Trojan horse. Harvesting our habits, dictating life's course. Predictive model shaping our reality. Manufacturing desires through virtual actuality. We feel free, but we're caught in the system's grip. As AI tentacles tighten, there's no way you resist. I'm being digitally spied, all my life's code rewritten. Fighting off the forces that leave me so smitten. Critical thoughts been diminished, I need a hard reset. Shake off these new chains before it's too late.